To my delight, the story of Dipplin doesn't end as being merely a candy apple, while Flapple destroys the integrity of the apple to fly. And Appleton changes its apple through the power of its factory-like anatomy to become a symbiotic pie-in plant. Dipplin is different, as it maintains the majority of the fruit save for what the Wyrm ate through, and treats its syrup covering as a cocoon. Also adding a roommate. Yeah, 2 Wyrms now inhabit the apple that Applin's debut games, Sword and Shield, would label a berry. Dipplin, being a duo, di means double, is known for being even more bulky than an Appleton. Is syrup more durable than dough? When it's hardened? Yes! But it has less special stats. Flapple is for attack, Dipplin is for defense, and Appleton is special. As in stats, not mental capacity, you dorks. Then Unova, my home region so far, introduced something that threw a wrench into my now favorite dragon type in the grass egg group's stat distinction. A brand new move
That was glitchy from release.
that increased the chances of critical hits by 1 stage to their ally in doubles. And yet this collaborative attack is the key to change a Mon with the same base stat total as the first in real life made Pokemon Rhydon into a Mon that shares a base stat total as a wealth of legendary, as in reputation, fully evolved Pokemon. Alternatively, this move increases the crit chance by 2 stages if their side partner is also a dragon type. Which means, surprise! It's time for yet another episode of
What did Loston forget?
Enter Hydrapple, bringing the best dang portmanteau to the lexicon of Pokemon. Syrupence. Just brilliant! Even though it debuted in Viva Pinata first, but regardless, Applin is now a 3-stage Pokemon, thanks to red cinnamon syrupy apples, and a new attack too. But only Dipplin and Hydrapple of the Applin line can learn this new move. It's called Dragon Cheer or Dragon Yell in the original Japanese translation. It's like Nintendo of America's never heard of a battle cry. Well, at least these dragon types can learn it. Now, hold on. We had a Wyrm
It's Applin, but he doesn't have an apple!
turn into the most visually accurate depiction of a Hydra yet in the Pokemon world. Sorry, Hydragon. Of course, Hydrapple is made of 7 individual syrupants, inhabiting the gel-based syrup shell that once held an apple, that is now stabbed through one of its horns. And its special attack and defense outclass both Appleton and Dipplin's. So what is distinct between a Wyrm versus a Hydra? Now, I'm not exactly an expert on mythology. That's more Loxton's turf. I'm only a mere budding botanist. But concerning the theme of apples, I must get to the core of their inspirations. With the limited amount of resources I have at the time of writing this, I will have to muster what I can to produce an answer. According to European legend, Wyrms, or Wyrms, yes, like the annelids, are serpentine dragons derived from the Norse word ormen, that are legless or have small legs. Wyrms of the old myths are found in various cultures and mythologies. Like the one from Germanic culture, possesses the ability to breathe fire.
No. No. Mm-mm. No. Yeah. No.
Well, not these Wyrms! And in some cultures are revered as symbols of strength and wisdom, or dangerous and unpredictable creatures. Small tangent, snakes are often affiliated with dragons, like the Wyrm. They're etymologically similar too. In fact, the Latin word Draco is used for both dragons and snakes. Another aspect of the Wyrm is the ability to exhale toxic fumes.
Are you kidding?
That barely works with Flapple. And to move with incredible speed.
It's called formal speed walking.
Unlike the other dragon types that have redeeming qualities, Wyrms are particularly destructive and malicious towards people.
Are you calling me dangerous?
They can be found specifically in swamps, marshes, and other dank or wet places, or sometimes they can take up space in a lake or even a well. I'm beginning to feel they're not actually worms,
You think?
but actually a sub-category of the creature. The Weaver, seen in Final Fantasy XI, though once found in France, is found in forests. Then there's the Guiver, also found in Final Fantasy XI, a dragon easily deterred by the sight of naked flesh. I'm sure if it had a view of Lady Godiva, that would be quite comical. Then of course we will have to address the Hydra of Lerna, aka the grandchild of Gaia, offspring of serpentine giant Typhon and half-woman, half-snake Echidna. Very interesting. Back to the Hydra, which is the many-headed serpent, originally having 6 heads, that was slain by Hercules.
Honey, you mean Hercules.
Or Heracles, with its first illustrated depiction dating back to 700 BC, as the second of his 12 labors, with poisonous breath and blood so virulent that even its scent was deadly. What Loxton neglected to add was that the whole regeneration factor was an added feature to the creature, then became part of the Marvel mythos, first appearing in Strange Tales 135 back in August of 1965. Funny how a simple change to myth completely changes the whole point. Cut off a limb and 2 more shall take its place. We serve none but the master. However, there are some issues with these types. The Weaver has wings, which Flapple could be. It could be derived from the Latin vipera, like Seviper. Then Weaver can be translated into wyvern. That's the Noibat line. And Noibat has a connection to Applin because of their apples being a target for their food. In the Pokemon mythos, they only eat fruit, being frugivores. Whereas the Gymnophobe, the Weaver, spouts water, which still works with the Applin line with Hydrapple's Hydro Pump, had toxic breath, which only works for Flapple, and killed living things like plants and animals. The Hydra had 1 body, but many heads. Hydrapple have multiple bodies in one place, and its name, in Japanese, originally references the Orochi, which had 8 heads and 8 tails. Hydrapple only shows 5 heads and 2 tails. Perhaps the reason that we are having trouble finding its equal is because it's not actually a dragon at all. A D.I.N.O. Dragon in name only. Think about it. This creature eats apples and bugs, but in myth, dragons don't like fruit, as they find it too sweet, but they will eat it if there isn't anything else on the menu. They tend to be carnivores, and really like bitter foods more. That means real dragons would adore the bitterness of lepa berries, and would exclusively have a sassy nature with higher special defense and lowered speed. So what are they really? First of all, they're not snakes, as none are remotely herbivorous or omnivorous. They could be another reptile entirely, being either a skink, a Euromastix, a chuckwalla, and a rock iguana. Only one of them could be legless or have short legs, and that's the skink. Applin are lizards, specifically Anguinae, that are native to Europe, Asia, North America, and North Africa. What's fun is that one species has a blue tongue and love munching on apples. In evolution, an Applin would gain longer legs depending on the form, and look more lizard-like after adapting to its home, the modified lepaberry. Then when it becomes a Hydrapple, being 7 legless skinks swimming in a syrup shell, it becomes an apple commune. Sadly, certain species of the animal are in danger due to invasive predators and sucks at defending itself. I mean, look at this poor excuse of a moveset! One could say it's a glass lizard. But like Applin, they like to hang out in gardens, but are as affected as pests due to poisons. That further justifies the grass type and lack of poison type moves. Luckily, skinks are one of the most communal reptiles, but like the serpents, they work better when they are housed alone in the social sense. Or else, there's a hierarchy with one being the dominant member. They aren't exactly aware of each other's boundaries, which also explains the lack of consistent power with their signature move, Fickle Beam. Not Pickle Beam. We're not talking about fermentation, Pimp Knight. Rule of thumb, it's not exactly wise to join adult skinks in one space. And in the way of the Hydrapple, it looks like always 2 of the serpent skinks are left out of most of the activities except for keeping the Pokemon in motion. 1 skink leads, 4 skinks work with a leader, then 2 are left with pushing their home forward. No one knows if the jobs alternate. That explains a lot. As the apple now stabbed with the branch horn, it maintains its color and vitality by continuing its counteracting the enzymes through a possibly byproduct of its
photosynthesis.
However, the purpose of the apple on Hydrapple, other than cosmetic reasons, is currently unknown. It's about time we look at the fruit itself.